Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm actually doing a collection update. So you'll remember with my last video, I had a collection update that was all mostly classic rock and heavy metal. So today I separated some of the newer stuff into more extreme metal. So I've got 3 releases to talk about today. So it'll probably be quite a short video, but I just wanted to categorize the two. So what we have today is 3 CDs, all death metal or black metal. So yeah, really happy with all these releases, so we'll get straight into it. Okay, so the first album I'm going to talk about today, which I picked up, is AZAZEL with Agrum Satanas Tecum. So I'll just take this out of the cover so you can see that a little bit better. So very sort of old school artwork there with the goat and the nun and everything. Yeah, so before we get into this band, yep, just showing you the artwork, but if you're not familiar, AZAZEL, or you may call them AZAZEL, they are a Finnish black metal band, and I have actually spoken about them on this channel before. I talked about their 1995 demo, The Night of Satanakia, which is a legendary album. Actually, I forgot to pull that out, so I can't show you now, but it is in a previous video, I'll link it up. That's a legendary demo. And then the band was actually dormant for quite a long time. And then a few years ago, they started re-releasing music. So this is the newest full-length album. Now, what I will say is, as I've mentioned before, this band is infamous for their drunken performance at the Steelfest Black Metal Festival in Finland, where if you've seen the YouTube video or you haven't, go and look it up, where they're completely inebriated on alcohol on stage and they barely get through their set. You know, like the guitarist stumbles and falls off the stage and they're spilling alcohol on themselves and everything. So the band became sort of infamous for the wrong reasons because of that show. Like, it is quite funny to watch, but if you actually pay attention to the quality of their studio recordings, it's a completely different story. I love this band. This is fantastic. And I'll tell you what, since, you know, getting this about 2 weeks ago, I've listened to this over 20 times. It's really great. So it's just excellent old school black metal. So I'll go into what I mean by that in a moment, but yeah, really just all those classic elements of black metal, which I really enjoy on this. Everything is absolutely perfect. How would I describe it? It's mostly mid-paced black metal with very sort of catchy, groovy riffs, like the kind of groovy riffs that you tap your head along to, but they have the occasional like sped up parts, you know, it's sort of like faster whirlwind riffs and blast beats and that kind of thing, but it's often quite mid-paced, but very catchy. But it's raw as well, and when I say raw, I'm not referring to what is now known as raw black metal. You know how that's become a genre where generally, sometimes that translates to, it means it's garbage, but like raw black metal, I'm not against it as a new genre, so to speak, but I just hate it when it's just really overly raw, because it just sounds like rubbish to me. Like raw black metal these days, you know, that kind of where the drumming sounds like wooden spoons slapping an ass, or you can't even hear the drums at all, that kind of thing. That kind of raw black metal pisses me off. But when I say this is raw, I don't mean like that. I mean, it's just got that right level of frostbitten bite and crispness. So you can still hear the drums, and to me it's very important to hear drums in black metal, even though riffs are the main driving force. But this is just the perfect mix. It's got that crispness and bite about it, which is excellent. Great raw vocals, which are, like the demo, they're kind of in the vein of Burzum, except maybe, you know, the Burzum vocals are very sort of drawn out and like these ones are sort of like shorter and gruffer, if that makes sense. But yeah, still those really grim vocals. And how I'd also describe this, a lot of the riffs and the slower breakdowns in this, they remind me of a lot of riffs on Dark Throne's Under a Funeral Moon. You know, those slower breakdowns in songs like Summer of the Diabolical Holocaust, Dance of Eternal Shadows, and Under a Funeral Moon. I absolutely love those, so it's no surprise that I really like this. But at the same time, it's also reminiscent, some of those like heavy, like doomy, heavy and doomy riffs. They really remind me in certain parts of Archgoat and Beherit, so fellow countrymen, Finnish black metal. But yeah, if that gives you some kind of insight, it's kind of, you know, a cross between early Dark Throne and some of those Finnish bands. So no complaints there. Every song is really catchy. I'm tapping my head along to this the whole album. Now, pretty much every song is fantastic. Like it just flows so well from beginning to end. It starts off with Invocation, Hail the Ancient Ones, which is sort of like a medieval fanfare with trumpets, but certainly not cheesy. It just sets the atmosphere. And it's got Satanakia, he's the vocalist. It's got his like grim spoken word vocals you know, going over the top of that, and then he does that chuckle, which is like very much showing his personality, which is also in that Finnish black metal documentary. That's how I got into this band. I'll leave the name is in Finnish, but I'll leave that documentary name down below. You should watch it. Then you've got the first main track is Jesus Christ, Impotent Rotting Savior. Just brilliant call to battle with that song, like very catchy, awesome riffs in that. Welcome to Church Bazaar, they even include some pianos in that, but don't think it's sounding like wimpy or sellout, certainly not. It just adds to the darkness and melancholy, and it lifts the melody, so that song is fantastic. And then, yeah, every other song on it is great. In fact, the last track is called In Nomine Dei Nostri Satanas. That has got some really tortured, shrieked vocals. Like, even more tortured than the vocals in Where Cold Winds Blow by Darkthrone. Just like eerie and shrieky. That song could almost be a ritual. But if you love old school black metal like I do, you know, no frills, no bullshit, you would absolutely love this. So I strongly recommend it, can't recommend it enough. So I'll just show you some details here. So here we have the disc itself and the booklet. And the booklet's really cool as well. Sorry guys, my video just cut out there, don't know why. So you've got the cover art here, all of the lyrics which are nice and readable, mostly in English, some in Latin. And then you have the 6-piece lineup. So there's Lord Satanakia there on vocals. And they actually have, how many? 6 guys involved in this. So they've got another guy called K24S who does the growl and demon vocals. So 2 vocalists, but you can see that very old school aesthetic there. Yeah. So, like I said, this band is infamous mainly because of their performance at Steelfest, but fuck that, you know, just check out the music. It's absolutely brilliant. I think this is one of my favorite releases of the last year in terms of what I've heard. Like, I'm not one of those people who buys 100 albums every year, but in terms of most listened to, cannot recommend this enough. If you're a fan of old school black metal, essential. So that's Azazel with Agrum Satanas Tecum. All right. Now, the next CD which I bought, this is another band that I've been a fan of for a long time, another old school band, but different style. This is Nunslaughter with Red is the Color of Ripping Death. So you see here, there's the artwork. It's kind of that old school vibe, like Impaled Nazarenes, Tolkompt, Nors. Yep, so you see here, death metal. So, if you're not familiar with Nunslaughter, they are a band. It's death metal. Sometimes they've described themselves as devil metal. And you can see here in the booklet, this is their moniker. Metal is death, death is metal, Nunslaughter, death metal. So it's basically satanic death metal. So death metal with satanic lyrics. But it is unique. This band, they have their own sound for sure. So that disc. So I think it's appropriate they call themselves devil metal because it's unique. What it basically is mid-paced death metal. Like, it's mostly mid-paced, sometimes a bit chuggy and thrashy, but like not really blast beat death metal, more like 2/4 and 4/4 times, but just very sort of simplistic but effective, catchy riffs, and with raspy vocals over the top. So it's got a great groove, it's got a great flow, like every song you're tapping your head along to. And this band is kind of like an AC/DC of death metal. I know Cannibal Corpse were given that label recently, but I think it could equally apply to Nunslaughter in the sense that they're very consistent with their style. And you know what you're going to get with this band. And if you like that sound, you're going to enjoy every album. So I've got quite a few of their albums, which I'm yet to show, but this is the most recent one. Came out last year. And yeah, this band, it's mainly the creative force of Dawn of the Dead, who's the vocalist, and formerly of drummer Jim Sadis, who passed away a few years ago. But Dawn of the Dead is the main driving force in this band now. But yep, they've stayed true and consistent to their style. Just mid-paced, catchy, groovy, thrashy death metal. That's how I describe it. But yeah, really they have a sound like no other band. Like Nunslaughter have their own sound. So yeah, it's really great. And like I said, the vocals are a bit raspy. And this band is not technical. There's no frills, no bullshit, no guitar solos, just grooves and catchy riffs and an eerie dark atmosphere. So really fantastic stuff. This has got 14 tracks. It's over in 35 minutes. So that's the thing. Most of their songs range from 1.5 to 3 minutes. So no frills, just getting straight to the point. But so catchy, it's just brilliant. So I've shown you the disc already. But just show you the book. Really nice booklet showing all the band members and lyrics. Yeah, so they did a great job with the packaging on this one. And that's the thing about this band. Dawn of the Dead's singing style, it's extreme, but you can still make out what he's saying. So like a lot of the time you don't even need the lyric sheet. But yeah, really, it's just so reminiscent of some of their earlier albums. I really like this, but they're also trying some newer stuff in this album, which I'll explain. So yeah, 14 tracks on this, but some of my favorites are track 1, Murmur, great call to battle with that song. Track 2, Broken and Alone, just the heavy chugging breakdown riffs at the end of that song. It's just awesome. Also the title track, Red is the Color of Ripping Death. Some really extreme, and like the vocals, they're kind of snarled as well as being raspy, but vocals are fantastic in that song, including some gory lyrics. And in terms of the lyrics are kind of simplistic and economical. Like they're not overly descriptive, but the choice of words they use are so ingenious. Like it's just, like sometimes I'm laughing at how effective it is. Like that is just brilliant. It's genius. So they have a unique way of writing the lyrics as well. Yeah, so Red is the Color of Ripping Death is a great song. Also, some of my other favorites would be Beware of God and Black Cat Hanging. So you can just tell from these titles, they're different, they're interesting. Yeah, there's some really eerie, creepy parts in it where it's very sort of theatrical and atmospheric, really good. I also like The Devil Will Not Stray, just some great catchy riffs in that. And The Temptress, yeah, towards the end of the album, it just keeps getting better and better. Casket Lid Creeks has got some like fuzzy bass solos, like really deep pulsing bass in that song. The song's driven by the bass, but yeah, that's an example of the band, you know, trying different things in addition to what they're normally good at. So it's sort of like they're sticking to their regular style, but they're exploring other avenues with the music, but it's definitely that unmistakable Nunslaughter sound. So like I said, if you know this band, you know what you're going to get, and this album is certainly no exception. I love it, and this is another one that I've listened to so many times since getting it. So if you like old school death metal, death thrash metal, yeah, definitely check this out. So Nunslaughter with Red is the Color of Ripping Death. Okay, and last CD that I'm going to show today, we have a familiar one. Most people will probably know it. This is Sinister with Cross the Sticks. So, first of all, what can I say about this? Shame on me. Shame on me that it took me so long to finally getting around to listening to this band. This is a band that I was always familiar with, like in terms of hearing the name mentioned in the scene, seeing people wearing the t-shirts, seeing the logo, like it was very familiar, but it's just one of those bands that I never got around to hearing. You know how it is sometimes, like so many bands, so little time. Quite shameful in the sense of how long I've been listening to this kind of music since I was about 14. It took me until now, but yeah, I showed this on Instagram the other day, and as I said, better late than never. By the way, pointless slipcase there. Yeah, but yeah, this album is just absolutely fantastic. Basically, it's old school. In my opinion, the way I would describe it is just old school brutal death metal with guttural vocals. It's down-tuned. You know, some people might say it sounds generic, but not, I wouldn't say so, not in a bad way. Like, considering when this came out, 1992, it's groundbreaking for its time. Extremely heavy. In terms of bands that it reminds me of, now some people might disagree with me on this, but the names which came to mind, which sprang to mind when I heard this were Deicide, in terms of the heaviness and the vocals, but of course Deicide also have a unique sound where they're in a league of their own, but like this is like the equal level of sort of extremity and heaviness and the bellowing of the vocals. It also reminded me a bit of Malevolent Creation, especially the albums where the vocals were more low and guttural, so like just down-tuned, heavy, guttural, brutal, and it's very bouncy and groovy and catchy, so and like a bit sludgy sounding. So absolutely love this. Like, this is just no frills, old school death metal, fantastic. Now, each time I listen to this, it gets better and better. I think it's going to take me a while to get my head around it in terms of working out standout tracks, but all I can say is now, after listening to it several times, it gets better and better, and I enjoy the whole album. So yeah, if you just like old school death metal done the traditional way, definitely check this band out. Now, I'll just show you the disc. So this is, I think this is a reissue, but yeah, from Nuclear Blast. And the booklet, I'm sure most people are familiar with this because I was probably the last person in the world to discover them, but yeah, lyric sheet here. Yep, sorry, battery running low there. Yeah, lyric sheet here, and photos of the band performing live. Yeah, but I've really enjoyed this so far, and this band has released a shit ton of albums. like I think about 14, and they've had a lot of lineup changes. So for me, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, but I'm glad I started with this one as the first album. But just great old school brutal death metal, Sinister with Cross the Sticks. All right, and believe it or not, guys, that's it for this video today. So just 3 albums, some black metal, death metal, and devil metal, if you want to call it that. But yeah, each of these albums I've really enjoyed, and I highly recommend all 3 of them. So I can find no fault in any of them. So yeah, definitely all worth checking out. If you like extreme metal of the old school variety, yeah, definitely worth it indeed. All right, so that's all there is for this video. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. I think maybe I'll go back to showing some of my vinyl records, you know, like in the different categories, like heavy metal, death metal, and black metal. But we'll see. If other threads come up, I might do some in the meantime, but we'll see. If there's anything you guys are interested in seeing or you want to see more of, just let me know, because I'm always open to suggestions. Yeah, so that's it. So in the meantime, thanks a lot for your support of the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet and you like this video, please consider subscribing, and I hope you keep watching. So in the meantime, stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.